there's no need to cry, as it's now time for the happy ending.
Sir, get your mind out of the gutter.
Not that kind of happy ending, this kind.
I am happy, you are happy, let us be happy together.
The promos are working.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. And yes,
It's okay.
it is now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Yay! So normally I try not to mention Nazis in the happy ending. But, you know, this all started with the idea that the Ukrainian people deserve this because they're Nazi adjacent. Because there might be a Nazi in their neighborhood, or one has taken over their some small subsidiary section of their government. Never mind the fact that the president's Jewish and his grandparents died in the Holocaust, or his great uncle and aunt, I think it was. Never mind that. It's just understand that Nazis. There's Nazis everywhere. We're just bombing. Like, if you hit other people, it's collateral damage. You got to clear it's too many Nazis running around. Well, there's a problem with that argument beyond the fact that it's crap. One of them is the Russian imperialist movement, the Rim, which is, I mean, honestly.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Right. Yes. Talk about getting your head out of the gutter. They're a white supremacist group. They're a paramilitary group that, they link up and interact with the Wagner group quite often. They show up in Africa because they view that as a murder playground. And their whole purpose is a white supremacist takeover of the earth. Sounds kind of Nazi-esque to me. I mean, in concept. Yeah. And they wear a Russian flag combined with a Tsarist era Nazi flag.
Yeah, they wear the ribbon of St. George, which is a black and an orange ribbon that ultimately is Russian nationalism. But we've talked about this in the past, Hal, but I think it's really, every time this comes up, I need to talk about this because I need to take the wind out of the air of what is essentially Russian talking points, because they know how we react to the word nationalism.
Sure.
And I want to just reiterate for the 12 billionth time, when a Ukrainian says, I am a Ukrainian nationalist, he does not mean my country is better than yours, and so my nation is better than yours.
Right.
That's what we tend to hear when we talk nationalism.
Right.
What Ukrainians, because of the history of this country, what Ukrainians mean when they say, I am a Ukrainian nationalist, it means I believe that there should be a nation on this planet named Ukraine.
Right.
It is a wholly different thing than what we tend to associate with nationalism. They are basically saying, I want my country to be a country, and I want to have a home, a nation state called Ukraine. And who of us, especially us Americans, can not identify with that sentiment?
Right.
So
yes,
when you
super
hear
important.
Ukrainian nationalists, you do not think Nazi, think patriot.
Well, and also, like, one of the reasons why we think of that word differently than theirs is because our nation state, even with January 6th, is not under threat. We don't have anything to worry about. We went through the worst attacks on our country since the Civil War, technically speaking, and it didn't leave a mark. I mean, it's annoying at level, but it's nowhere near the constant back and forth from Uganda to the Yemen, Saudi struggles to the it's not like our Shah was deposed. Like, honestly, we don't have to worry about that.
The reason why the Russians do this in their propaganda campaign, and I have been having to answer this question ever since I arrived here and this war has started, the Russians use the word Ukrainian nationalists in English on purpose because they study us almost exclusively because they see us as enemy number one, and they use our language against ourselves.
Right.
So when they say Ukrainian nationalists, they know exactly how that is going to be heard to an English-speaking world, and they do it on purpose. Stop. Whenever your audience hears Ukrainian nationalists, do not think Nazi, think a guy who just believes my country should be a country.
I mean, it's George Washington. It's it's the guys writing the Constitution while under fire from the Brits, rather than be a subject to the monarchy. That said, meanwhile, the RIM, the Russian, like independence movement or whatever they are, the imperialist movement, they review. I think the quote is, "We see Ukrainianness as rabies. Mm-hmm. You either quarantine it, you liquidate it, or it'll infect everybody." Is, I think it's pretty. I'm paraphrasing, but the idea
that
is
mentality is
that if you want Ukraine to be a country, whether you're an ethnic Russian who lives there now and has family there, or you live in Russia and believe that Ukraine should exist, or you are a Ukrainian-born person, or a Romani, or anybody who lives in there who likes the idea of living in a free Ukraine, they view that as a rabid disease, not an infection like COVID, but something that turns you into a monster, rabies, and that has to be put down.
There's a reason why every major writer, poet, musician, what have you, if he dared to perform in Ukrainian, he was punished. This goes back to Taras Shevchenko in 1846 as just one example. This has been going on for a long time. The Russians have always tried to destroy the culture of Ukraine because it allows them to identify with a homeland that is not controlled in Moscow. Even though Kievan Rus was built and bred and born out of Kiev, the Muscovites, the Muscovy princes, have always been so aware of the fact that if this divide was able to exist, and they were more successful than the Russian princes, that it would be a threat for them. They have always tried to stifle and destroy Ukrainian culture and self-identity, and they're still doing it now. The narrative that this is a post-Soviet, this is a balkanization of a post-Soviet world, and that's where this conflict comes from, and that is a narrative that I am seeing all over the place, is 100% incorrect. This is a war that has been going on for 500 years. It is about Ukraine being separate from Russia and having self-determination. So, it's not. This isn't a post-Soviet conflict. This is a conflict that's been going on for a very, very long time. Also, and finally, Ukraine is going to be a country, and it's from now on in. It can't be taken away. If they win this war, which I have no doubt they're going to do, it will never be in question again.
So one of the the conversation about the Wagner Group is the State Department and the Pentagon say there's about 1,000 Wagner Group guys in there. And by the way, that's how it should be pronounced, Wagner Group, because it was actually named after Hitler's favorite composer.
Das Zarathustra.
Yeah. Right, Richard Wagner. Right, not Dick Wagner. From Toledo, Ohio. Bless his heart, poor guy. The phone calls he must be getting are ridiculous. Right? The Wagner Group. The leader of it. His name's Utkin. Anyways, the guy who formed the Wagner Group. We always hear about the Azov Battalion and how they're aflush with Nazis and whatnot, even though it's like 9% of the original group from pre-2014, and most of them have been broomed out or have just stopped referring to themselves that way. This guy had a Nazi eagle with swastikas and SS lightning bolts tattooed on his torso, like the frigging villain in the second the Equalizer movie. That's why Putin, and we're at the end of the show. Thank you, Philip Bittner. That's why Putin knows where the neo-Nazis are. They're his guys. His guys. They're the RIM. They're the Wagner Group. They're there for a purpose.
They exist here. Look, they exist here. There's a long history, and it's a very convoluted history. To say that there are no Nazis in Ukraine would be a lie.
There are in the United States.
Yeah,
there are
exactly.
Nazis in the United
But
States. That doesn't mean you get to straight bomb Toledo. We're at the end of the show. So thank you so much, Philip.
Thanks,
Everybody
Al.
follow Philip Ittner at Philip Ittner, 1L, 2 T's, and you'll see his vlog that he's posting from Lviv, and we will check in with you later. Johnny Million, I love you dearly.